Brian Dubray, CBC News, Vancouver.
I'm Sheldon Turcott. Pardon the interruption, but this is something of a special day here at CBC News. For today is the day we say goodbye to George McLean, and he says goodbye to us. And the reason George isn't here to introduce the last story on today's broadcast is because that story is about George himself. He will be back to conclude the program, but first, Denby Arneson has prepared this report on the distinguished career of a man who, to many Canadians, was the voice of CBC News.
Yeah, I'm going to miss it because there's a certain excitement to every television newscast.
The CBC National News with George McLean.
Good evening.
With the national edition, here is George McLean.
Good evening. University Press.
The National with George McLean.
Good evening. With 9 days to go in the referendum campaign, Quebec's artistic community...
For almost 3 decades now, George McLean has been telling Canadians what's been happening in the world around them. He's done it, give or take a few hundred newscasts, bulletins, and special occasions, around 22,000 times.
Countries their Canadian soldier husbands helped liberate in the Second World War.
Just out of the Air Force at the end of the war, McLean's first job was as a junior announcer at a small station in Kenora, Ontario. He joined the CBC in the mid-50s, the beginnings of Canadian television. His newscasts now have the look of living history.
Prime Minister Diefenbaker called upon the Western world today to draw up a declaration of freedom's creed, similar to the Atlantic Charter of the Second World War.
In the business, he's both the reputation and the image of solid reliability, crisp control, and understated humor.
Yeah. Thank you. So now they will know that I wear trousers, not shorts, you see.
Every newscaster has horror stories. One of George's earliest was getting trapped in the elevator on his way to a studio.
The elevator got stuck between the mezzanine floor and the second floor. And I pushed every button in that cage, and it wouldn't move. So eventually they discovered that McLean was missing, and where was he? And of course I was banging the doors, and eventually they heard me.
A repairman showed up only seconds to air.
Of course, we wouldn't let the audience know that we'd had this emergency, but it was touch and go there for a while. If they hadn't got that mechanic.
Stand by.
5, 4, 3, 2,
Roll 15.
1.
Line 5.
10 to the floor.
Ready
8,
to squeeze.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Cue 'em.
1.
I'm George McLean.
More recently, the lead items on one newscast still had not been satellited in when the show went to air.
The first section's going to be very tight. It's still coming in.
Okay, tell them to keep reading.
Keep reading. Keep rolling.
The secret is, pretend nothing at all is going wrong, especially when everything is going wrong.
We hope to have filmed reports on those forest fires later in this broadcast.
Dissolve an atom.
In other news, the small...
George's formula, no stagey theatrics, no contrived
I
gestures.
can do it. I don't know exactly what it is that I do that brings it off successfully. I think treating the viewer with respect, trying to present it in as straightforward a manner as possible.
He projects a kind of a sense of calm, really, in all the chaos of the day's news. His voice and his style, I think, gives an audience a feeling of comfort and a feeling of integrity in terms of what he's doing, what he's saying. An audience believes him.
It's a style reflected in his mail, a sense of propriety, of dignity, of class.
In some respects, they almost treat you as a friend or a member of the family. It's really quite amazing that over the years you do become somebody whom they regard as a friend. And now this is George McLean saying good night for CBC Television News. Well, what can one say after so many compliments? Except to say thank you for inviting me into your homes for all these years. and also to say thanks to all the technical and production people involved in gathering, preparing, and presenting the news. Without them, I wouldn't have had such an interesting and rewarding career. Some of you have asked me what I intend to do now that I'm retiring from the CBC, so I'll tell you. I'll be doing a little freelance work on the side, but I'll also be doing a lot of this.
Well,
Okay. I've been working on the old game for a number of years, and now I can give it my undivided attention. So if you're ever looking for me on a gorgeous summer day, you'll know where to find me. And that's the National for Saturday, May 31st. For CBC News, I'm George McLean. Good night and goodbye.